The storm howled across the white land. Snow fell heavy from the black sky, covering the ground in endless white. The wind cut like a knife. No creature could survive here for long. Yet in the middle of this frozen wasteland, a small figure stumbled through the storm. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes glowing faint blue. She was young, almost a girl, but already a mother. In her weak arms she carried 2 newborn babies. Her steps were slow, shaky. Every breath made mist in the cold air. Her body was thin, her face pale. She had been walking for hours. Her people had left her to die. She had no food, no fire, no shelter. All she had were her children, 2 small twins wrapped in thin cloth. The babies cried, their tiny voices lost in the scream of the wind. She held them close to her chest, trying to give them warmth, but her body itself was freezing. She was falling. She was dying, still she walked. Step after step she dragged her feet across the snow. Behind her, faint lights moved in the storm. Shadows of tall figures, soldiers, hunters, her people. They were searching for her. They wanted the twins dead, she whispered weakly. Not them. Please, not them. Her legs gave way. She fell on her knees, sinking into the snow. The cold bit her skin. Her strength was gone. She lowered her head. She thought this was the end, but then a sound, not from the wind, not from the hunters. Something different. A crunch of boots in the snow. A figure moving closer. She lifted her head with the last of her strength. Through the storm she saw a man, his face hidden under a thick hood, his body wrapped in a heavy coat. He was human. His breath came out in clouds, and in his hand he carried a light, a small torch glowing in the dark. The man stopped when he saw her. His eyes widened. He had been wandering the frozen land alone after his ship had crashed. He never expected to see anyone alive here, especially not this. He looked at her strange silver skin, her glowing eyes. She was not of his world. But what caught him most were the babies in her arms. Tiny, helpless, crying in the cold. The man stepped closer. The alien mother tried to rise, but she was too weak. She only held the twins higher as if offering them to him. Her lips trembled. Save them. The man knelt in front of her. He saw the pain in her eyes, the fear and the desperate hope. The baby's cries cut through his heart. He had a choice. He could walk away, pretend he saw nothing save himself. Or he could take them, carry them into his small crash shelter and risk his own life. The wind screamed louder as if pushing him to decide. The man looked once more at the alien girl. Her face was already turning pale, her eyes closing. She had no time left. He reached out. His strong arms lifted the twins carefully from her. The babies stopped crying for a moment. Their strange eyes, half human, half alien, opened and stared at him. It was as if they knew him already. He wrapped them inside his thick coat close to his chest. Their small warmth touched him. He looked back at the alien mother. She gave him a faint smile, tears in her glowing eyes. Then her head fell forward, weak and heavy. Stay alive, she whispered. Her voice was almost gone. The man quickly put his arm under her shoulders, lifting her too. She was light, too light, her body nearly frozen. He had no idea how far she could last, but he could not leave her in the snow. He turned and began to walk, forcing his way through the storm. Each step was hard, but his will was strong. He carried the twins against his chest, the mother against his side. Behind him, the shadows in the storm grew closer. The hunters had seen movement. They were coming. The man pushed forward, faster now, his boots breaking through deep snow. He knew the way back to his shelter. A small cave, hidden under the ice where he had survived since his crash. He had little food, little heat, but it was the only chance. The storm screamed. The baby stirred under his coat. The mother coughed weakly against his shoulder. Closer, faster. He had to make it. But then, through the roar of the wind, came a new sound, a sound that made his blood run cold. The hunters. Their voices echoed in the storm, deep and sharp. Their lights cut through the snow. They were not far. They had seen him. The man's jaw tightened. He gripped the mother tighter, pressed the twins closer, and forced his legs to move. His mind screamed one thought. Don't let them take the children. He stumbled through the storm, snow rising around his knees. The cave was near, but the hunters were nearer. Finally, through the white blur, he saw it. The dark mouth of the cave. His shelter. Safety, if he could reach it. He pushed himself harder, every step a battle. His breath came in fire. His vision blurred. But he did not stop. At last he reached the cave. He pulled the mother and the twins inside, into the dark, into the little safety he had built. For a moment, silence. Only the baby's soft breathing. Then, a sound, a knock. Not from the storm. Not from falling ice. A knock at the entrance of the cave. Someone had followed them. The man froze. His heart raced. He held the twins close. The mother stirred weakly. The knock came again. Slow. Heavy. The hunters had found them, to be continued. The knock echoed again in the cave, slow, heavy. It was not the sound of nature. It was the sound of someone. Or something. Outside. The man pressed his back to the cold wall, clutching the newborn twins inside his coat. Their tiny warmth was the only soft thing in this frozen world. The alien mother lay on the cave floor, weak and barely breathing. Another knock. Louder this time. Then silence. The man's breath slowed. He reached for the small weapon on his belt. A short metal tool he had kept from his wrecked ship. It was not much, but in his hands it was deadly enough. The babies stirred. One gave a soft cry, but he quickly covered them with his arm, rocking them gently. Shh, he whispered under his breath, though his own heart thundered in his chest. Snow shifted at the cave entrance. Heavy steps. Whoever was outside was still there, waiting. For long moments, nothing happened. Only the whistling of the storm outside filled the silence. Then slowly, the sound of footsteps moved away. The shadows faded. The man did not move. He waited in the darkness, every muscle tight, until at last he was sure the danger had passed. Only then did he lower his weapon and crouch beside the alien mother. Her silver skin was pale, almost white. Her breath came in shallow gasps. The storm had nearly killed her, but her eyes opened faintly when she felt him near. She whispered, voice trembling, "The children, are they safe?" The man nodded. He opened his coat slightly, showing the two small faces resting against his chest. Their strange glowing eyes blinked up at him. They were quiet now, as if trusting him. A weak smile touched her lips. Good, good. Her hand shook as she reached out and touched one of the baby's cheeks. The man studied her. She was not human, but there was no hatred in her eyes, only fear and love for her children. He could not understand why her people had left her to die, but he could see the truth. She was no enemy to him. He pulled a small pack from the corner of the cave. Inside were the last supplies he had salvaged from his ship. A tiny heating rod, some water, a few dried food rations. He lit the rod and a faint orange glow filled the cave, pushing back the darkness. Warmth spread slowly. The twins shifted and gave soft sighs. Their skin glowed faintly in the firelight, half human, half alien. The man could not look away. The mother whispered again, her voice thin but urgent. "Listen to me. They will come back. They want the twins dead. You must protect them." The man frowned. "Why?" "They are only children." Her eyes filled with tears. "Not to them. They are different. A crime. A curse." She coughed, her whole body shaking. "But to you, they can be hope." The man looked at her with confusion. He had questions, many questions, but he could see she was too weak to answer. He gave her some water, holding it carefully to her lips. She drank a little, then closed her eyes again. The twins began to fuss. He pulled out a small ration bar, softened it with water, and fed tiny drops to them. They swallowed, their little eyes blinking up at him. For a moment, the storm outside seemed far away, but peace never lasted long in this world. A sound drifted through the storm. Voices. Not just one this time. Many. They were close, moving carefully, searching. "The hunters!" The man's jaw tightened. He moved to the cave entrance and peered out. Through the snow he saw faint lights, glowing orbs carried by tall figures. Alien soldiers. Their armor reflected the storm's light as they scanned the ground. They were tracking footprints. His footprints. He backed into the cave, heart pounding. He looked at the mother, who was drifting in and out of sleep. She could not walk. He could not carry her and the twins together, not while moving fast. The twins whimpered softly. He pressed them against his chest to calm them. Their small glowing eyes looked up at him again as if sensing his fear. He had to decide. Hide here and risk being found, or run into the storm again with the children and maybe lose the mother forever. The knock from earlier returned to his mind. Someone had already seen them. The hunters would not stop. His grip on the weapon tightened. His soldier's instincts whispered fight. But another thought pushed deeper. Protect the children. At all costs, the mother stirred. Her weak voice came once more. Please, promise me. If I cannot, promise me you will keep them alive. The man looked at her pale face, then down at the two small lives pressed to his chest. He nodded slowly. I promise. Her lips curved into a faint, peaceful smile. Her eyes closed again, too weak to stay awake. The storm outside grew louder. The voices of the hunters carried closer. The man pressed his back to the wall, holding the twins tight. His heart beat like thunder, and then light flashed at the cave entrance. Bright, sharp, shadows moved against the walls. They had found him. The man raised his weapon, jaw set, breath steady. He would not let them take the children. Not while he still lived, to be continued. The cave filled with light. Shadows stretched across the stone walls. The man gripped his weapon tighter, his back against the cold rock. In his coat, the twins stirred, their tiny breaths warm against his chest. The alien mother lay weak on the ground, whispering faint words he could not hear. Then came the sound of metal boots, heavy, slow. Soldiers entered the cave. Their tall bodies filled the space, their eyes glowing through strange helmets. They carried long weapons humming with deadly power. The man stepped in front of the mother and the babies. His jaw tightened. He was only one man with little strength left, but he would not step aside. The first soldier raised his weapon. The hum grew louder. The man's hand trembled on his blade. He thought this was the end. But then a cry, one of the twins let out a sharp wail. The sound cut through the cave like lightning. The soldiers froze. Their helmets tilted. For a moment they hesitated, as if the cry struck something deep inside them. The man did not waste the chance. He lunged forward, striking the first soldier across the chest. Sparks flew. The alien stumbled backward, crashing against the wall. Move! The man shouted at himself more than anyone. He scooped the mother into one arm, pressed the babies tighter to his chest, and ran deeper into the cave. Shots fired. Blue energy flashed past him, burning the rock. The heat singed his coat. He ducked, weaving through the narrow passages. The storm outside had been his prison before, but now it was his only escape. He burst out of the cave mouth into the howling snow. The storm swallowed him whole, blinding and deafening. Behind him, shouts rose. The hunters were coming. Snow bit his face, but he did not stop. His legs burned, his lungs screamed, but he forced his body forward. The twins cried against him, small voices in the storm. The alien mother stirred weakly in his arm. Run, she whispered. They will never stop. He knew she was right. These soldiers would not rest until the children were dead. To them, the twins were not babies. They were a threat, a crime, something that should never exist, but to him they were life, innocent life, and he would not give them up. He stumbled across the frozen land, boots breaking through ice and snow. Behind him, lights glowed faintly in the storm. Shapes moved, tall and fast. The hunters were gaining. His mind raced. He needed to lose them. He needed to hide. Ahead, the land sloped downward into a frozen river. The ice stretched wide, covered in snow. He hesitated. It was dangerous. Thin ice could crack under weight. But he had no choice. He ran onto the ice. Each step groaned beneath him, the sound sharp and frightening. Cracks spidered across the surface. The twins whimpered. He whispered, "Hold on, hold on." Behind him, the hunters reached the riverbank. Their lights cut through the storm. One raised a weapon. A blast of energy struck the ice near him, exploding in a flash of blue. The ground split beneath his feet. The man shouted as the ice shattered. The world dropped. Freezing water swallowed him whole. Darkness, cold, pain. The twins were pressed tight against his chest under his coat. Their small warmth was still there. He kicked, struggling, forcing his way up. His body burned in the icy water, but he did not let go. At last he broke through the surface, gasping for breath. The storm whipped around him, and the ice chunks cut his hands as he pulled himself up. Somehow he dragged his body and the children onto the far side of the river. The hunters' lights glowed on the other bank, but they did not cross. They stood still, their helmets turning toward him. The river between them cracked and roared, too dangerous even for them. The man staggered forward, shivering, every breath like knives in his lungs. His coat was soaked, his body numb. But the babies still breathed. They were still alive. That was all that mattered. The alien mother coughed weakly in his arm. Her silver skin looked even paler now. Why do you save us?" she whispered. The man did not answer right away. He only pressed the children closer. At last he spoke, voice low and firm. "Because someone has to." The storm swallowed them again as he pushed forward. He found a cluster of rocks ahead, a small hollow in the ground. He slid inside, setting the mother down gently. He pulled the twins free of his coat, checking their tiny faces. Their strange glowing eyes blinked up at him unafraid, as if they trusted him completely. The mother looked at him with weak eyes. "They are not safe. Not anywhere." The man nodded grimly. "Then I will make them safe." Her lips trembled, almost a smile. She closed her eyes again, drifting into sleep. The man sat there in the dark hollow, weapon in hand, the twins against his chest. Outside, the storm raged. He knew the hunters would return. The frozen river would not stop them forever. He stared at the children, his jaw tight. He had been alone since his ship crashed, wandering this dead world with no hope. But now he had a reason to fight. For the first time in a long time, his heart beat with purpose. He whispered to the twins so softly the storm could not steal the words. "You are not alone. Not anymore." Outside, faint lights moved once again in the storm. The hunters were still searching, and the hunt was far from over, to be continued. The hollow among the rocks gave only little safety. The wind still cut through every crack, and the cold clung to skin like sharp claws. The man sat close to the alien mother, his back pressed to the stone. In his coat, the twins rested quietly, their tiny breaths warm against him. His body shook from the icy river. He needed fire. Without it, he and the children would not last till dawn. With trembling fingers, he pulled a small heating rod from his pack. He pressed the switch, and a faint glow spread. He set dry scraps of cloth and wood he had gathered earlier near the light. Slowly, fire grew, a small, fragile flame fighting against the dark. The cave hollow filled with dim orange light. Shadows flickered on the walls. The twins blinked awake, their strange glowing eyes shining faintly in the firelight. For a moment, the storm outside felt far away. The alien mother stirred. Her face was pale, her lips blue, but the fire's warmth brought a little color back. She opened her eyes, looking at the man. "You should have left me," she whispered, her voice thin as smoke. The man shook his head. "I couldn't." Her weak smile flickered. She looked down at the babies, then back at him. "Do you know what they are?" He hesitated. "Half human, half your kind." Her eyes glistened. "More than that. They are a promise, a danger, a bridge between worlds. That is why my people want them dead." The man's brow furrowed. He leaned closer, listening. She coughed, trembling, but forced herself to speak. "Our kind believes in purity. No mixing, no union with outsiders. It is law, a law older than memory. When they learned I carried these children, they called me traitor. They said the twins were a curse, a stain. They ordered my death." Her eyes filled with tears, but they did not fall. "I begged for mercy. Not for me, for them. But mercy is a word our leaders have forgotten." The fire crackled. The man's jaw tightened. "So they hunted you?" "Even your own." "Yes," she whispered. "They left me in the snow to die with my children. And still they chase me. They fear what these twins may become. They fear a future where human and alien are not enemies, but family." The man looked down at the babies in his arms. Their small hands curled against his chest. They were so tiny, yet their existence was enough to terrify armies. The mother reached out, her trembling fingers brushing one baby's cheek. "They have something inside them, something neither human nor alien. I have seen it. Their eyes glow when they cry. Their voices carry power. One day, they could change everything." The man studied her face. "And you, what do you want for them?" Her answer came without pause. "Life, nothing more. A chance to live, a chance to grow. That is all." Silence filled the hollow. The storm outside screamed, but inside there was only the crackle of the fire and the soft breaths of the twins. The man leaned back against the stone. His body was heavy with exhaustion, his muscles aching from cold and battle. But his mind was awake, sharp. He knew the hunters would return. He knew they would not give up. He thought of his own world, the human colonies scattered across the stars. He thought of war, endless and bloody. He thought of why he had come here, to scout, to fight, to survive. But now he carried something greater than any mission. The twins. He looked at the mother. I will protect them, even if it costs me everything. Her eyes softened. A tear finally fell. Thank you, she whispered. For the first time, she let her head rest against the stone, closing her eyes. Sleep took her, shallow and weak but peaceful. The man fed the fire carefully, adding scraps one by one. He knew it would not last the night, but he would make it last as long as possible. The twins stirred in his arms, their eyes glowing faintly in the flickering light. He rocked them gently, whispering, "Sleep now. Tomorrow will be harder." But tomorrow came sooner than expected. From deep within the cave hollow, a sound rose. Not the storm, not the crackle of fire. A different sound, metal against stone. Footsteps. The man's head snapped up. His grip tightened on his weapon. Shadows moved at the edge of the firelight. Tall figures entered the hollow, their armor gleaming. Hunters. They had found the trail again. The man rose slowly, placing the twins behind him on the blanket of his coat. His weapon gleamed in the firelight, small against the soldiers' massive guns. The alien mother opened her eyes weakly. She saw the shadows and gave a faint, broken cry. No. The fire cast long, sharp shapes across the walls as the soldiers advanced. Their weapons hummed with deadly power. The man's heart pounded. His mind screamed one truth: he could not run. Not this time. He planted his feet firmly on the ground, raising his weapon, ready to fight with everything he had. Behind him, the twins stirred, their eyes glowing brighter in the firelight. Their small cries filled the cave, echoing like thunder against the stone. The soldiers paused. Just for a moment, and in that moment the man struck. To be continued. The cave shook with the hum of alien weapons. The orange firelight flickered against the soldiers' armored bodies as they stepped inside. Their tall shadows swallowed the walls. The man stood at the center, weapon raised, his back to the twins. His breath came slow and steady, though his heart thundered. He knew this fight could be his last. The alien mother tried to rise, her weak hands pressed against the stone floor. "Please," she whispered. But her body betrayed her, too broken, too weak. She could only watch. One soldier raised his weapon. The humming sound grew sharp, filling the cave like a scream. The twins cried at the same moment, their voices strange and powerful. The sound echoed against the walls, almost shaking the air. The soldiers paused, their helmets tilting as if struck by invisible force. The man did not waste the chance. He charged forward, slamming his blade into the nearest soldier's chest. Sparks burst, the armor cracking under the blow. The alien stumbled back, crashing against the rock. Energy fire lit up the cave. Bolts struck the walls, burning stone and filling the air with smoke. The man moved fast, weaving between blasts. He fought like a cornered wolf, every strike desperate but full of fire. He cut one soldier's leg, spun, and kicked another into the flames. The alien roared as armor caught fire. The cave became chaos. Light, smoke, cries, and the sound of steel against steel. But there were too many. A heavy strike slammed into the man's side. Pain exploded through his ribs, and he fell to one knee. Another soldier raised his weapon, ready to finish him. Then the mother screamed. Her voice was broken, yet filled with raw power. She dragged herself forward, throwing her body in front of the twins. Her hands glowed faintly, strange energy sparking from her fingertips. The soldiers hesitated. The man pushed himself up with a growl and struck again, his blade cutting across the enemy's arm. The weapon clattered to the ground. He grabbed it, turning its glowing barrel toward the others. Blue fire spat from the gun, slamming into another soldier's chest. Armor cracked, sparks flying. The man's hands shook, but his aim was steady. He fired again, forcing the rest back. Smoke filled the cave. The fire crackled wildly. The smell of burning filled the air, but victory came at a price. The alien mother slumped forward, her body trembling. Blood darkened her silver skin. One blast had struck her while she shielded the children. The man dropped the weapon and ran to her. He caught her in his arms, lowering her gently to the stone floor. Her glowing eyes flickered as she looked at him. Her lips trembled into a faint smile. "You fought for them." The man's throat tightened. "Don't speak. Save your strength." But she shook her head. Her breath came in shallow gasps. No strength left. Only words. She lifted a trembling hand and touched one of the babies. The twins had stopped crying, their strange eyes watching her silently as if they understood. "My daughters," she whispered, "you must live. You must grow. Do not let this cruel world break you." Her gaze turned to the man. Tears glistened in her eyes. "Promise me. Promise you will raise them. Promise you will keep them safe." His jaw trembled. His chest burned with pain, not from wounds but from the weight of her words. He nodded slowly. "I promise." A single tear slid down her cheek. "Then I can—" "Rest." Her hand fell limp. Her glowing eyes dimmed. Silence followed, heavy and sharp. The man knelt there, holding her still form, his breath shaking. For a moment, the storm outside seemed quiet, as if the world itself mourned. But the battle was not finished. From outside the cave came a low rumble. Engines. The sound of alien ships moving across the sky. Bright lights flashed through cracks in the stone, scanning the land. The soldiers he had fought were dead or broken, but more would come. Many more. The man wiped his face with a blood-stained hand, his eyes burning. He looked at the twins. They were watching him silently, their small faces calm despite the chaos. He gently set them against his chest again, wrapping his coat tight. "I promised her," he whispered, "and I will not break it." He rose, gripping the stolen alien weapon. His body ached, his ribs screamed, but his steps were steady. Outside, the storm had lessened, but the sky burned with lights. Alien ships floated above, scanning beams sweeping across the snow. They were hunting, searching. The man stepped into the night, the twins against his chest. Snow crunched under his boots. Smoke trailed from the cave behind him, marking the death of their mother. He did not look back. Each step forward was heavier than the last, but he walked with new purpose. He was no longer just a survivor, no longer just a soldier stranded on a dead world. Now he was a guardian. Above, alien ships roared, their searchlights sweeping closer. The man narrowed his eyes. His grip on the weapon tightened. He whispered to the twins, "I will keep you safe, even if the whole galaxy comes for you." The storm swallowed his figure as he marched into the white night. Behind him, smoke rose like a funeral flame. Above him, alien ships hunted, and within his coat, two small lives glowed with quiet power. To be continued. The storm had ended, but the night sky burned with danger. Alien ships drifted like black vultures above the frozen land, their searchlights cutting through the snow. Each beam swept across the ground, hunting for him, hunting for the twins. The man moved quickly through the icy fields, every step sinking into snow. His coat was wrapped tight, carrying the children close to his chest. Their tiny warmth kept him alive as much as he kept them alive, but he knew the truth. He could not run forever. His mind turned to the broken wreck of his ship, half buried in ice not far from here. He had avoided it for weeks, knowing it was useless, but now it was his only hope. The ship was dead, but the comm device inside might still breathe. He reached the ridge overlooking the wreck. The twisted metal hull gleamed faintly under alien lights. Smoke and frost clung to it, but the shape of the cockpit remained. The man climbed down carefully, cradling the twins. At the shattered entrance, he set them on a blanket of cloth, kissed their tiny foreheads, then stepped inside. The cockpit smelled of rust, ash, and broken dreams. Panels hung loose, glass shattered. But in the corner, half buried under debris, he found it. A small comm device, cracked but not destroyed. He pulled it free, his fingers numb. He brushed away the frost, pressed the power switch. For a long moment, nothing. Then a flicker. A faint green light blinked on the screen. His heart leapt. It still worked. He bent close, whispering, "Come on, please." Static hissed, broken signals struggling through the frozen silence. He adjusted the frequency, searching, reaching. Finally, a faint human voice crackled through. "This is patrol ship Aegis. Repeat. This is Aegis. Any survivors, respond." The man's eyes burned. He pressed the transmitter. "This is Lieutenant Carter. Crash survivor, grid sector 9. I have 2. Civilians. Need immediate extraction. Silence." Then the faint reply, "Signal weak. Location received. Hold position. We are coming." He closed his eyes, a breath of relief escaping. Rescue. Finally. But hope was always followed by danger. A low hum grew outside. He turned sharply. Through the cracked window of the cockpit, he saw alien lights sweeping the wreck. The signal he had sent. It had been heard not only by humans. The hunters were coming. He grabbed the comm, slung it over his shoulder, and rushed back outside. The twins stirred as he scooped them into his coat. Their glowing eyes blinked up at him, calm as if they did not fear the chaos above. The alien ships lowered. Their engines roared, snow swirling in violent storms around them. Carter ran, his boots crunching across the ice. The twins whimpered softly, but then something strange happened. Their tiny voices rose in unison, not crying but humming, soft, almost like a song. The storm itself shifted. Snow whipped harder, winds screaming louder. The alien searchlights flickered and bent, their beams scattering as if pushed by unseen hands. The ships faltered in the sky. Their engines roared louder, struggling. Carter stared down at the children, shock racing through him. Their eyes glowed brighter than ever, reflecting the storm around them. He whispered, "What are you?" The twins only hummed louder, and the storm obeyed. The alien ships retreated higher, fighting the sudden blizzard. But more were coming, dark shapes filling the horizon. Above, a new light pierced the sky. Not alien red, but human blue. A ship, Aegis. It descended like a blade through the storm, its engines burning strong. The comm on Carter's shoulder crackled. "Lieutenant, we see you. Hold on, we're taking fire." Alien warships broke from the clouds, their weapons glowing. Blue beams clashed against red in the night sky. Explosions lit up the frozen land. The storm became a battlefield of fire and snow. Carter shielded the twins as debris rained down. He ran toward the rising light of the human ship. His muscles screamed, his lungs burned, but he did not stop. The ground shook as an alien strike exploded near him. He stumbled, falling to his knees. The twins cried out sharply. The air around them pulsed. A shockwave burst from their tiny bodies. Snow and ice exploded outward in a circle. The alien soldiers charging from behind were thrown into the air like rag dolls. Carter gasped, holding them tighter. He could feel the power surging through them, though they were barely more than infants. He whispered, voice raw, "You're not weapons. You're children." But the galaxy would not see children. It would see fear. The Aegis ship roared lower, its ramp opening. Soldiers waved, shouting for him to run. Carter forced his body forward. He climbed the ramp, collapsing inside. Human hands grabbed him, pulling him to safety. The ramp sealed shut, engines roaring as the ship lifted. From the window, he saw the alien warship circling, firing red beams into the sky. The Aegis returned fire, blue streaks tearing through the dark. One alien ship exploded in a shower of sparks, but more closed in. The human pilot shouted, "We can't hold this fight. We have to jump now." Carter sat on the floor, clutching the twins. They had stopped glowing now, their eyes calm as if nothing had happened. But he knew. He had seen their power, and so had the enemy. The Aegis engines flared. The ship shook as it cut through the clouds, breaking free from the frozen world below. Stars filled the window. Behind them, alien warships followed. Carter whispered to the twins, his voice steady despite the fire burning around him. "I promised your mother. I'll keep you safe, even across worlds." The twins blinked up at him, silent and watchful, as if they understood. And outside, in the endless dark of space, a war began to chase them, to be continued. The stars outside burned with war. The Aegis tore through space, engines screaming, while red beams from alien ships chased like fire arrows across the void. Explosions lit the darkness, painting the sky with death. Inside, chaos filled the human vessel. Soldiers shouted orders, consoles sparked with warning lights. The ship shook with every blast. Lieutenant Carter sat on the floor, his back against the cold steel wall. The twins rested in his arms, their small bodies wrapped in cloth. Their glowing eyes blinked up at him, calm amid the storm. One soldier knelt beside him, voice urgent. "Lieutenant, command says alien warships have blocked our escape route. We can't jump to hyperspace." Carter's jaw clenched. "Then we fight through." The soldier hesitated, his eyes falling to the babies. "They're after them, aren't they?" Carter's silence was answer enough. The ship shuddered violently as another blast hit. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The pilot's voice roared over the speakers. "Shields down to 20%. We won't last much longer." Carter tightened his hold on the children. Their mother's last words rang in his ears. "Promise me you will keep them alive." He stood, every muscle aching, and moved to the bridge. The captain, a stern woman with tired eyes, turned sharply. "Lieutenant, who are these children? Why are the aliens willing to burn a fleet just to reach them?" Carter looked down at the twins. Their faint glow lit his arms. He answered simply, "Because they are the future." The captain stared, confusion flickering, but she had no time to press. Alien warships filled the view screen, closing in like predators. The largest ship loomed ahead, black and crowned with crimson light. The enemy flagship. It opened fire. The Aegis shook so hard the crew fell to the floor. The captain shouted, "We can't survive this." And then something strange happened. The twins began to cry. Not soft, helpless cries, but powerful cries that echoed through the ship, through the very air. Their eyes glowed brighter than ever, twin suns burning in small faces. The lights on the ship flickered. Consoles froze, then surged with new energy. The air itself vibrated like the sound of invisible strings being pulled. Outside, the battle changed. The alien warships faltered. Their weapons stuttered. Beams bent away, missing their mark. Some ships even collided as their systems failed. The crew of the Aegis stared in disbelief. Carter held the twins close, whispering, "Easy. Easy now." The flagship ahead still burned bright, massive cannons charging. But even it seemed to tremble under the children's strange power. Carter realized something in that moment. The twins were not just survivors. They were more. They carried the voices of two worlds inside them, and that voice could command the stars themselves. The captain gripped the console. "Lieutenant, if they can do this, make them stop that flagship before it tears us apart." Carter looked down at the children. They were not weapons. They were not soldiers. They were just babies who wanted warmth, comfort, life. He whispered softly, "You don't need to fight. Just be who you are. Show them you exist." The twins' cries changed, no longer sharp but soft, rising like a song. A sound pure and strange, older than language, and the galaxy listened. The alien flagship's massive cannon powered down. Its red glow faded. Across the battlefield, other ships stilled. Engines quieted. Weapons lowered. On both sides, human and alien, the fighting slowed, then stopped. An impossible silence filled the stars. The twins' song carried through it, not through radios or machines, but through something deeper. Through minds. Through hearts. Soldiers dropped their weapons, eyes wide, as if they suddenly saw not enemies but themselves reflected in another. Carter held them close, tears in his eyes. "You've done it," he whispered. "You've shown them what your mother wanted." On the screen, the alien flagship turned slowly. Instead of firing, it retreated. One by one, the other alien ships followed. The human crew gasped in disbelief. The war was not won with fire, but with voices too small to be believed. The captain turned to Carter, eyes wide. "What are they?" He looked down at the twins, their glow fading as they fell back into gentle sleep. "They are children," he said softly. "Children of two worlds, and they are hope." Silence fell again on the bridge, but this silence was different. It was peace. Fragile, uncertain, but real. The Aegis sailed through the stars, leaving the battlefield behind. The crew whispered, some in awe, some in fear. But Carter only rocked the twins gently. He remembered the mother's final words. "Promise me." He bent his head close to the sleeping children. "You will live. You will grow. Not as weapons, not as curses, but as daughters of two worlds." His voice trembled, but his heart was steady. "And I will raise you, as your father, as your protector, as your family." The twins stirred in their sleep, tiny hands curling around his coat as if they understood. Outside, the stars stretched endless and bright. The galaxy was still broken, still divided. But now, for the first time, there was a chance. Because in Carter's arms, two small lives carried more power than fleets, more hope than any army, and more promise than any weapon. And their story had only just begun.